I don't personally view an Olympic provisional status as something next. It's more something in tandem. One of the things I love about competitive cheerleading is it is the only sport really that I know of that is designed around co-ed team. My understanding is what was announced was 8 teams, 8 franchises, whatever you want to call it, that will be participating in this pro league. Now, what are those? I don't know. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, and today we are talking about the fact that pro cheer might be happening, and it could change everything or nothing. Now, before we get into the episode, make sure you head on over to Cheer Gym Owners on Facebook, and you have joined that group, and All-Star Cheer Coaches and Owners on Facebook as well, if you are a coach or a coach and owner. My second big shout out request thing that you've got to do is go to ngconferences.com and get registered for our conference in Dallas, June 20th or through the 23rd. Yep, got those dates right off the top of my head. It's going to be a game changer, like literally the best conference that you could possibly imagine. You are going to want to be there. Everyone in the cheer industry is going to be at this conference, and I would love to see you there. I myself will be there and teaching along with Danielle and Shelly and Rihanna and all of our next gen team. We've got Kat Haley is teaching, Jason Larkins is teaching. We've got so many amazing speakers to include Jeff Benson. You're going to want to be at this conference. So if you are a subscriber, if you listen to the podcast, if you are frequently engaged with our content, you're not going to want to miss this. All of the people who've been guests on the podcast, not all, but a lot of them are going to be there, and you're going to want to be at this event. So get registered before we sell out. Now, let's get into the bulk of the episode. So you may or may not have heard that they announced that the Pro Cheerleading League is a thing. It is really happening, and there's a website, and there are some bits and pieces of information. And I first found out about this. I was in Daytona for college nationals. I don't coach a collegiate team, but the majority of my staff from Dream Camps cheers in college between CBU and Weber and Trinity Valley. And so I have a number of kids along with my former athletes. I had, I think, 6 former athletes that I've personally coached that were competing at NCAA Nationals this year in Daytona. And so I go each year to support my former athletes as well as support my staff and get content, etc. So I was there, and one of the little planes flying over the ocean said Pro Cheer coming soon, or Pro Cheer ? It was something like, hey, Pro Cheer is actually happening. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So let's first talk about kind of where this might be going. I've done a little bit of research, and honestly, I can't find a whole bunch. So I'm going to be speculating a lot. I'm not in the know. I haven't talked to anyone specific. I don't know any secret details. So if you're here for those things, I don't have them. But I'm going to give you my opinion and my thoughts and some of my concerns and some of the things I'm excited about with this announcement. So number one, let's look at the history. So cheer has been in existence for quite a long time. Lawrence Herkimer was kind of the founder of new, like what we now think of as cheerleading. And then there was the whole history with it growing really scholastically. It was grown in the schools, and then an offshoot of All-Star Cheerleading was born, where there were clubs competing, and they were like, what should we call this? Oh, we'll call it All-Star. And so clubs started to emerge and compete. And then as that grew, coaches and people got together and were like, hey, we need to have a governing body. Varsity was a big part of that push. And there were a couple different governing bodies that started, as typically happens. And then they all came under the roof of USASF and under Varsity's roof. In a lot of ways, they provided a lot of funding and quite literally under their roof. And USASF was born. And then after USASF and some frustrations there with some things, there was some separation. And then IEPs really started to expand after Varsity had kind of purchased a lot of the other independent event producers. And I've been party to all of this. So I was competing all through those years. I actually started in All-Star Cheerleading in 2000. I was on one of the first teams in the state of Oregon. We weren't good. John Neville, my first high school coach, started it. We were called Northwest Power Cheer, I believe, or Northwest Power Athletics. I can't remember. But we practiced in a church. Like, we were not good. But that's when I started in all-star cheerleading. And John has now gone on to be the owner of OC All-Stars and done amazing things in cheerleading. Anyways, I digress. There's been this long history, and there's really been no path post-college for competitive cheerleaders beyond the career path of get into the industry of all-star cheerleading or coaching. So you could either go the route of, getting involved with a uniform company, or getting involved with a camp company like mine, or varsity camps, or getting involved on the choreo circuit, or providing service directly within the cheerleading industry. But there was basically a shelf life for being an athlete, which there always is a shelf life, but a shorter shelf life than a lot of other sports because there is some form of professional level. And that just never really materialized. So there has never really been a career path beyond coaching and providing services within the cheerleading industry geared towards the youth. So having some sort of a new professional league within cheer is very interesting. And a lot of people looked at the Olympics announcement as this being something with being a provisional Olympic sport. And people were like, okay, now there's something next. I don't personally view an Olympic provisional status as something next. It's more something in tandem, because most of those collegiate kids would also be the people who are being selected for the Olympic team. And there are also some really big questions from the Olympic perspective in terms of what style of team is it going to be? Is it going to be all girl? Is it going to be co-ed? Will there be divisions? There's not a lot of Olympic sports that are really co-ed based. In fact, I've talked about it on the podcast before. One of the things I love about competitive cheerleading is it is the only sport really that I know of that is designed around co-ed teams. Like, you have co-ed pairs tennis and pairs figure skating and things like that. That's typically co-ed. But from a team perspective, there really isn't anything. And it's such a cool thing. So I think it is really interesting to see these athletes potentially have a career path. And the people I've heard talking about it the most are those collegiate athletes, especially the ones that work for me in the summers, who are some of the best cheerleaders in the country, who are like, oh man, there might be something else. Like, I was actually just talking to Jelani. He's one of my staff members, cheered at Weber. Now, he's worked for me through the summers. I actually coached him when he was in high school, and he was talking to me the other day, and he's like, I mean, yeah, if I can go make, $100K a year just doing cheerleading, like, that'd be sick. And I don't think he actually wants to do that, but it definitely changes a perspective. I am not 100% sure, though, what that's going to look like. And I kind of mentioned that to him. So the other thing that I think is really interesting on this is it could have a very positive impact on the sport. It could have the ability to drive more attention for the sport, get more people talking about the sport, and give people more of a, hey, look, you could actually turn this into a career someday, which I actually think you can currently say. There are lots of people who've turned cheerleading and competitive cheerleading into a career. It is a billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar industry, which means there's opportunities for jobs. So I don't necessarily think that pro sport or pro cheer is really going to be the thing that takes us to that level where you have something for people to aspire to. But in general, people do want to see their athletes or their children be like a competitive athlete. There are people who want that. And so being able to offer something like that, I think, is really interesting. So now my question is, what is hype? What is actual opportunity? What does this look like? I have so many questions. So my understanding is what was announced was 8 teams, 8 franchises, whatever you want to call it, that will be participating in this pro league. Now, what are those? I don't know. This is where the rubber meets the road on, like, I'm kind of confused. So first off, I want to know who this is falling under. I'm just going to guess that the trail of breadcrumbs is probably going to lead back to this was something that varsity kind of started to push and is being the driving force behind. And I'm not actually faulting them for that. I'm just saying they are the deepest pockets in cheerleading. And it does make sense that they would want to create something that potentially would drive additional revenue. So I can see varsity being kind of that entity. So knowing that varsity is likely somehow involved in this and kicking it off, I'm really curious on how this is going to open doors. And I imagine it's going to be like any other professional league where there's going to be, franchise owners, team owners that are going to be kind of behind the program, behind the team. And what I'm worried about, and just my perspective on this is, I'm worried that it's just going to be kind of the same old guard of gyms and programs that are going to be given this opportunity. And to be frank, it's not like anyone ever reached out to me. It was never, no one ever reached out and said, "Hey, Dan, would you want to create a professional team, a professional franchise?" Now, I know that that's no one's obligation, and no one calls me when they want to start a professional baseball team, but I haven't had that opportunity. And if it is, and I'm not trying to be rude in any way, shape, or form, but if it is Cheer Athletics and Top Gun and Cheer Extreme and California All Stars, and it's basically just they're given the opportunity to have a professional program that is brought into this league, it really just becomes kind of like the majors, but on another scale. And I'm not sure how exciting that is to me, and how exciting that is to others. My next question with this is, how is it going to be structured? Is it going to be divisions? There's no other professional league. If you're in the NBA, it's not like you have the NBA and then like your small team and your large team and this and that and the other thing. Like, it would arguably be there's one team with your bench and your roster, and that's your job. But is there going to be enough money to make it make sense for people to have a job just competing in cheerleading? Because the money and the revenues for most pro sports comes from ticket sales, merchandise, things like that. And I'm skeptical on how that is going to work, because one, with only 8 teams, you would arguably want to be hosting their events, their competitions in particular areas that have large cheer populations, a large client base of people who are going to come and watch. And we've certainly proven that people will pay money to come and watch cheerleading. But will people pay money to come and watch cheerleading when it's not their children? Will they do it to just come and watch a professional team? Also, will they do that to watch them perform for 2 minutes and 30 seconds? Let's say it's treated like a normal sport where 2 teams go head to head on a weekend and a winner is determined, but they follow just cheer, right? Because they're announcing professional cheer. So that means that the weekend would be 5 minutes, or the competition would be 5 minutes long. Maybe they go more the route of like some sort of a stunt-ish cheer hybrid where there's various events that are then tabulated together. There's a tumbling event, there's a stunting event, there's a pyramid, there's a full routine, all that stuff to make it last longer. It's more of a head-to-head match like stunt or acro is. Okay, that might be interesting, but are we getting so far away from the brand and what people are really excited about that you're going to lose a large set of the client base? I don't know. So I'm very skeptical about the structure. Is it just going to be 2 teams, or are you going to have all of them compete against each other numerous times? And they're going to compete in 8 different locations to then determine who the pro champion is. Like, there's so many different nuances to this that I ultimately don't have any answer to. But I just have a lot of questions. For me, when you announce that something is happening and you don't announce any of those details, it makes me skeptical. It makes me skeptical that that is going to actually turn into something fruitful. I think there may also be unfair expectation of what being a professional cheer athlete actually looks like. I don't believe that they're going to be able to offer anything remotely close to what we would think of as like professional salaries. These will probably be athletes that have to have regular jobs, full-time jobs. And then this is like a part-time side hustle where they're maybe making $30,000 a year, maybe 40 or 50 with some endorsements. But I think that it's going to be a far cry from being able to support a large team of athletes on significant salaries. Because let's just say that you have a team of 30 athletes with a bench. Let's say a full team is 22, and you have your co-ed team of 20. Well, we'll make it 20 because I like round numbers because I'm not that smart. And you're paying each one of them $50,000. Then you're at for 10 athletes on a year, you're at $500,000, which means for 20 athletes, you're at $1 million a year in salary, right? Like that's based on my math, 2 athletes is 100,000. Yeah. So it would be pretty substantial. So I think that is going to be a limiting factor. This is an emerging sport professionally that has no real financial backing behind it. So how is that going to work? How are you going to have salaries? The ownership base is probably going to need to support that. Yeah, I'm just a little bit skeptical. So I'm excited about it. I want to see where it goes. I think it is a cool opportunity. And although I'm very skeptical about things, I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy. I'm not saying I don't want it to happen. I want to be analytical about it as we look into the approach. So wherever you're at, whether you're excited or you're skeptical, it's a cool announcement. It certainly created some buzz, some excitement. And ultimately, I hope it works out. I hope smarter people who know how to make this happen, know how to make it competitive, know how to make it interesting, know how to market it and get clients. Like, I hope those people are out there and going to be working hard on this, because I think it could be something really cool. Where it goes, I don't know. There are lots of professional sports athletes that aren't making a crazy living doing it. You know, you've got the NBA, you've got pro soccer, got pro tennis, you've got the NFL, you've got some things out there, but they are few and far between of actual pro sports that make a true, honest to goodness, like significant amount of money from doing a sport professionally. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you enjoyed listening to me pontificate on the joys of professional cheerleading. I apologize. I've been getting some text messages during this. I actually got a phone call in the middle. Full transparency. It was someone calling to tell me that they received their varsity settlement check and telling me to go check my mail, which I wasn't able to do. So yeah, it's an exciting day right now. It's very interesting. A lot of things are happening. So hope you're having a great one. I'm headed to D2 Summit tonight. So if you're listening to this prior to me competing on Saturday and hopefully Sunday, say a little prayer for my athletes that we have a great weekend, because they deserve one. All right, everyone. Hope you had a great one. We'll catch you on the next episode.